Hello, so I want to do a quick review of what I'll be looking at this coming week. Start with AUDJPY. Looking at AUDJPY, start with the higher time frame, the 1 week. As you can see from the 1 week, last week price closed with a strong rejection candlestick. So AUDJPY has been on an uptrend generally, but you see price has closed with this very strong rejection candlestick on the weekly time frame. If you look at the daily time frame, price has been buying. Then we formed a new high breaking the previous high. But let me mark that point. So the previous high has been broken. So price traded above this high already. So it's possible that after seeing the strong rejection from the weekly, then the daily we had a bearish engulfing in another red candlestick. My anticipation is that we could possibly see a price retracement for a while before the uptrend continues. And if you look at this point here before AUDJPY did the very same thing, price came and traded above this high and this high. Then we had a bearish engulfing, then a retracement move started. And the reason why I have that bias on the bearish movement is because of this also lower time frames which are forming the bearish reversal patterns. If you look carefully here, we have some sort of it's very tiny, but it's a head and shoulders pattern. So after seeing this pattern, what I'm expecting is a possible price drop. Looking at AUDJPY some time back, because we used the market patterns, you see we had an impulse move, then price retraced from that point to that point before the impulse move continued. So what I'm looking for this week is possibly a retracement. Using my fib, I'll be marking the 50% Fibonacci level, which is here. So I'm looking for a retracement to the 50% to the 61 or even 78. But for now, I'll focus on the 50% because I'm only trying to go with the immediate price behavior. And if you can see from where price is right now to that 50%, will be trading about 230 pips. So this week I'll be trying to look for bearish patterns on AUDJPY. If I find a bearish setup, then I'll be taking it. So that's it for AUDJPY. Next, I'll move to Euro AUD. Looking at Euro AUD, starting with the weekly time frame, I can see that price is sort of confused in the weekly time frame, so there's nothing much to gather in terms of price direction. On the daily time frame, we had a price drop. We had a price drop from this point to this. Then we had a retracement which covered the 50% fib level. So my initial anticipation was a further price drop, but as much as the drop might continue, I'm simply trying to analyze based on the immediate market reaction. If you look carefully, we have a small W pattern here. It could be very useful to give you price direction. And if you check this same AUDJPY some time back at this point, we also had a small W pattern. And after the pattern, let me just mark it for clarity. So these patterns are very tiny, and it takes you to be good at identifying the patterns and the market structure. You see, after this pattern formed, what happened is that we had a bullish move of about 356 pips. So that's what I'm possibly looking for. Also moving to the 4-hour time frame. Let me remove these drawings. The 4-hour time frame, if you check carefully, price has been unable to break to form lower lows. From this point, you can mark it going further. Sorry, let me correct this. That is a Euro AUD. Then you move this, you are unable to break the low. Same thing happened at this particular point, unable to break the low. So we've been having this repetitive move, which is sort of indicating that buyers are trying to gain momentum in this market and sellers are actually becoming overpowered. So what I'm looking for this next coming week, I can't say that I'm looking for a very strong bullish move yet because the daily time frame is still generally on a downtrend, but I'm looking for price to trade at least to the next supply zone. Let me just mark to this next supply zone, which is at this particular point. So I'll be looking for a bullish momentum to this point. Then from that point, it will be easier for me to now know the next possible direction. And if you look carefully from the 1 hour time frame, the patterns are still repeating themselves. We have a bullish pattern forming here. So if you are to get your buy trade anywhere here, you can see to that point we have about 118.20 pips to be traded. That's what I'll be looking for Euro AUD the beginning of the week. So next we move to the dollar pairs. And before we analyze any dollar pair, we must start with analyzing the dollar index. That is a must. The dollar index is definitely, without a doubt, it has a very clear direction. I want you to see how the dollar has been behaving. We head at it. In fact, for the longest time on the weekly time frame, the dollar has been on a very strong uptrend, very strong bias in this market. So we had a retracement, then we now have a strong, the weekly time frame closed with a very strong bullish candlestick. But I think that was anticipated because if you remember last week, last Friday, we had the NFP, and the NFP came out very positive. So my anticipation was that this week the dollar was going to be very strong at a certain point, and that's how the dollar reacted this week. See, the last two candlesticks are very strong bullish candlesticks. So without a doubt, I'm expecting the dollar to trade even higher. I'm expecting it to push to the upside and break this previous high. Moving to the 4 hour time frame, same thing happened. We had a very nice bullish structure which formed at this particular point. We had a breakout candlestick. It had a very smooth pattern. We had a breakout candlestick here, and after that, price pushed higher. So I'm definitely looking for a strong dollar this week. I'm looking for dollar to continue pumping to the upside. So when the dollar is buying, we'll be expecting most pairs that have USD as their quote currency to be dropping. The likes of Euro USD, Pound Dollar, and AUD USD. So looking at USD CHF next, USD CHF without a doubt. I sent this to my Telegram channel somewhere this week. It was somewhere last week. We had a very big consolidation pattern here, which I marked. And the prediction was that by the time it's breaking out of here, the dollar will be strong and we'll see, a bullish USD CHF. And that's exactly what happened. So what I'm looking for this coming week, because this one also on the higher time frame, without a doubt, you can see the weekly time frame closed with a long, very long bullish candlestick. Looking at the daily time frame, we have a series of long, bullish candlesticks. So at the 4 hour time frame, I'm also looking for USD CHF to continue buying all the way to this previous high. And in fact, it will even break the high sometime maybe this week, depending with how the volatility will be. So I'm looking for price to push all the way to the upside on USD CHF. So that's it for this. And then we move to Euro USD. Remember, as I've said, pairs that have dollar as their quote currency, in this case, Euro USD, because Euro is the base, USD is the quote currency. So pairs that have dollar as the quote currency, most of the time they are expected to do the opposite of the dollar index. So as the dollar is strong, we're expecting EURUSD, GBPUSD, AUDUSD possibly to be selling. It's not a must, but as long as the structure respects that, there is a high chance that EURUSD should be dropping. So we start with the weekly time frame. Clearly, you can see the structure. Very bearish. Price has been dropping for the longest time, dropping with some retracements. If you look at the immediate price behavior for the last week, which has just closed, we had a very long bearish candlestick. So moving to the daily time frame, just to confirm the direction, without a doubt on the daily time frame, we have something sort of an M pattern which has formed. In fact, it's important to note that first of all, price has traded back to this supply zone, which is at this, because the supply zone I mark it using from the previous shadow, the previous week to the next breakout candlestick. This is the breakout candlestick. This is a long red candlestick. So that is the supply zone. So price has traded back to the supply zone, and as if that's not enough, we had a formation of an M pattern. It takes you to be very careful to identify these patterns. price traded back up, then we've now had a very strong drop. If you move that to the side, that's an M pattern. So that being said, I'm looking for a bearish move on the lower time frames. So on the 4-hour time frame, without a doubt, you can see everything is showing strong bearish momentum. So my anticipation is that price will possibly make a retracement. I mostly find my trades with the 1-hour time frame, but from the 4-hour, what I'll be looking for is price to possibly form a retracement to this point. Let me mark. So it could continue dropping instantly, but the higher chance is that it could act as if it's dropping on Monday, just to pull more traders in, because everyone knows that there's a high chance it's going to drop. So on Monday, what could happen? You could see EURUSD behaving as if it's dropping, so that people can get into their trades. Then instead of dropping, it will end up retracing all the way to maybe this point, depending on how the market will be, and wipe out almost everybody. Then at this point, I'll be looking maybe for something like an M pattern, depending on how the market will behave. So the M pattern is where possibly we'll get a trade there. Then we'll look for a further drop this week to break this previous low. So EURUSD, without a doubt, I'm looking for a bearish trade, depending on how the market will behave. We move to GBPUSD, which I know most people like trading. So even before you continue GBPUSD, definitely I'm looking for a bearish trade as I get into the breakdown. So I had this prediction this week in the Telegram channel, and I said that if GBPUSD breaks this below the neckline in the 4-hour time frame, then price will drop. But what happened is that it was unable to break. The first time it came, it was unable to break. It left a shadow. So I ignored that bearish trade. But it went up, acted as if it's going to buy, then it came back down slowly, and we got a strong breakout. So now it has confirmed what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for a bearish trade this week, just to confirm from the higher time frames. The weekly time frame, as you can see, price is in a general bearish market. So the market is bearish, it's dropping. So we've had a retracement. So price is now continuing to drop. We had a long candlestick on the weekly time frame, and the candlestick, we had a long rejection to the upside by that week. So that week is a sign that buyers have been rejected in this market. So sellers are definitely strong on GU. See how this candlestick closed with a very long body. If you check carefully, we have some sort of consolidation. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are about 5 to 6 candlesticks that were unable to break that zone. So that's a consolidation. Then we have a breakout. So what we're expecting next week is possibly for price to trade back to this candlestick, somewhere to the middle of this candlestick, because whenever the market drops, there's a high chance of retracing. So if price trades back somewhere to this candlestick in the middle, I'll be looking for a sell entry there, just to be safe. So this is what I'm looking for next week. Price to form a retracement, then sellers should continue controlling the market. Something like that is what I'll be looking for on GU this coming week. Finally, AUDUSD. AUDUSD, definitely the same thing. We're looking for a bearish trade on AUDUSD. Going to start with the weekly time frame. Price has been in a general downwards move, as you can see. Lower highs, lower lows. Price retraced, then we had a drop, then we've had another retracement. So if you come and draw a Fibonacci using this previous impulse move, you can clearly see that price has retraced to the 50% Fibonacci level, which means equilibrium has been achieved. So we have price balance. So the imbalance has been corrected. So after the imbalance has been corrected, what we're expecting is that price will continue with the trend direction. Then the candlestick closed with a very long bearish body. So without a doubt, USD, the market structure is calling for sellers, strong sellers. Same thing to the daily time frame, long body candlesticks. So on the 4-hour time frame, what I'll be looking for is a general price drop. It could drop instantly, it could have a retracement, but I'll be looking for possibly a retracement to this to this previous supply zone, because at this point it's easy to have strong sellers, or it could retrace all the way even here. It depends. We'll just monitor how the market will be at the beginning of the week. Then a price drop all the way to break this previous low. So that's what I'm looking for on AUDUSD. So my top 5 trades this coming week, if I'm to rank them, number one, without a doubt, EURUSD. There's something about EURUSD that most of the time EURUSD respects the market structure. It's very easy to make 1 or 2 losses on GU or I mean GBPUSD or EURUSD before you hit profit. But EURUSD, as long as you are trading the market structure, it usually has a very high chance of respecting it. That's why I have a very high win rate on EURUSD. So EURUSD is definitely my first trade on the list. Then without a doubt, USDCHF is also good at respecting market structure most of the time. Even when the dollar is disturbing and it has confusion, USDCHF usually respects market structure most of the time. So EURUSD is number one, USDCHF number two, bullish trade on USDCHF, bullish trade on EURUSD. After that, number three is AUDUSD. AUDJPY is not even on my top 5 list. As much as I've analyzed it, as good as it looks, I won't be targeting it much because it has some sort of confusion, especially on the higher time frame. The trend is still very strong. So trading against the trend might be quite risky. So my number 3 trade is AUDUSD, looking for that bearish move because it has a very smooth pattern, as you can see. Then the movement of AUDUSD is quite it's moving in a very systematic way. That's why it's my number 3 trade. Number 4 will be EURUSD. Again, looking for a bearish trade, definitely. Then the fifth one is GBPUSD. So GBPUSD is my fifth trade because GBPUSD, it's very easy to be right on the direction of GBPUSD, but it's also very easy to make a loss despite the fact that you are right, because UPS usually behaves in a very weird manner sometimes, not all the times, sometimes. For instance, in the past few weeks, if you've been trading GU, it's been very stubborn. 1 minute it's going up, the other minute it's going down. So you might be right on the direction. You think at this point you could have thought it's now broken out using this candlestick. You take your sell trade, what happens? It goes all the way back up. You think it's now bullish, it goes all the way back down. So GPUSD, as good as it is, as much as I know it should drop, it's going to be number 5 in my list. So in my rank, I'd rather go for the trades that have the highest probability of winning, not just in terms of the direction, because knowing direction is one thing, but the behavior of that trading instrument is very significant, because it's easy to know that an instrument like gold is very volatile. It's very easy to know that gold is going to buy or sell, but it's not easy for you to get that entry point, because you can imagine it will be dropping. See the way gold behaves, it's dropping, then within a second it goes all the way back up. So based on that, those are my top 5 instruments that I'll be looking to trade this week. So let's see how the week goes.